Hello. Thank you for falling for our provocative session title. Of course, wishlist matter. It's so ridiculous. Please leave your feedback at the door.
Should I just leave now?
Yeah. As we know, on Steam, wishlists and their slightly more expensive cousins, followers, used to be the only data points we as publishers and developers could use to gauge how well our marketing efforts were working. If people wishlist, then that's them saying, I'm interested. So the more people who are interested, more copies we'll sell, right? Well, not really, because according to some theories offered by economists and psychologists, they suggest that as soon as we directly influence an outcome in order to use that outcome as a measurement, essentially that measurement becomes useless. So are we guilty of manipulating wish lists?
I'll do your slides.
It would have been more impactful if we'd just done that. Are we guilty of manipulating wish lists? Well, look, there's nothing wrong with encouraging people to wish list. It is, after all, a valuable marketing tool. Ahead of launch, the Steam algorithm pushes games with more wish lists across more parts of the store, as well as featuring them in popular upcoming if it reaches a certain threshold. And then at launch, Steam will send a notification to everybody who has the game on their wish list. And again, whenever it's discounted by more than 20%, either resulting in them being reminded about a game that they were interested in or sparking confusion about a game they don't remember wish listing. So the more wish lists, the better, right? Well, yes, unless you are using them to directly predict the future. So my notes have gone slightly, I think. And that's the problem I have with wishlists at the moment, is that specifically the chatter around them and the obsession with using them to try and work out how many copies a game will sell. It's misleading, and it creates an obsession with the metric, which Valve themselves have described as a low-value store interaction. And while I do think that the sharing of information between publishers and developers is really helpful, I get concerned at the sort of stuff out there which tries to present wish list volume as an indication of how much money you will make. Now, I don't mean to pick on this example specifically, because it's clearly been created with the best of intentions. It was shared last year. And it's a simple spreadsheet which asks, ahead of a game's launch, remember, will your studio survive on the future revenues of your game, given the current number of wish lists that you have? And yeah, it's entirely accurate, as long as you bear in mind that all you have to do is make a massive assumption about an average sales price across the year, multiply that by an arbitrary conversion number, which is then multiplied again by a number with no further explanation, to give a definitive figure, which you can then adjust across a number of ranges in order to determine exactly whether you might, what you might get if all of those things come true. It's easy. But hang on a minute, who the hell am I? Hello, I'm Simon from Yogscast, not that one. And I'm here with Mark Campbell, the handsome one, from our marketing partner, Fourth Floor, to talk about the types of things that we found can influence sales at launch and beyond without relying on wish lists as a metric. I've been publishing games since 2015, and I've signed and launched games like Human Fall Flat, For the King, The Ascent, and of course, PlateUp. And if there's one thing I know, it's that you never know. Simply put, if you're trying to predict how many copies of a game you're going to sell, wish lists do not matter. Now, let me show you. So we're going to take a look at data from our recent games and see what trends we can spot from pre-launch wish lists. For the time being, we're going to exclude PlateUp. The initial 5 games that we're going to take a look at are a mix of genres published throughout the year. We spent between 25,000 and 80,000 on marketing the titles, which was a mix of sort of PR and influencer management mainly. And each was supported by our own channels across Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Bear in mind that we're a small publisher, so the numbers you're about to see will be dwarfed by many that you hear from other bigger publishers. But what I'm hoping to show you is that there tends not to be a direct relationship between the number of wish lists and the copies sold. Given that the data is shared between us and our partners, I do want to retain some mystique though, so we'll be anonymizing the data. and we will please meet our 5-star lineup. Look, it's a very young Take That. I'd love to know what's happening with Mark and the other one. They're looking off. They can't take their eyes off. Well, maybe it's my wish list data, Mark.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe. So take that alphabetically and using each member to represent our games across the next few slides. We've got Gary Barlow at under 5,000 wish lists at launch, way below the suggestion from the Steam dev cheat sheet. Howard Donald, Jason Orange, Mark Owen and Robbie Williams all laughing at Gary, and not just for the way he dances or his tax dodging. So how did those games, remember, they go from low to high, how did they sell overnight? Well, you look at the Gary Barlow there. So these figures were taken at 8 a.m. after launch, basically Steam's first full day. It's Gary who's laughing. He sold almost as many copies as Robbie, despite of having had a third of the wish list. And overnight, so the other three are much slower, but within 100 copies of each other, despite Mark Owen having more than 30% of wish lists than Howard Donald. Indeed, poor old Mark, his overnight sales were almost a third of Gary's when he had over 3 times as many wish lists. That said, you can't really gauge how you're doing until a few days in. Note that Gary's start has fallen away. Mark Owen has clawed back the deficit to just under half the initial sales. But look at Robbie Williams. He had just under 20% more wish lists than Mark Owen, but his first week sales were almost 10 times as many. And then the launch ends, the end of the first month, with Robbie selling more than the rest of the games combined. So who would have thought? Popping back to one of the initial discussions on social media that we looked at earlier, and how do week 1 sales compare to total wish lists? Remember the comment, you could sell 15% of your total wish list. Well, you could or not. There's quite a range across our 5 games. Each sold between 19.8% and 160% of their pre-launch wish lists. A range that how your business will fail spreadsheet doesn't even dare to dream about. And then just to help those properly budget over a slightly longer period, we see month 1 sales of between 25% of launch wish lists or 230%. Who knows? And as for the question of how valuable those pre-launch wish lists are, well, either just under 10% of those who wish listed prior to release will buy the game in the first week, or almost 50%. So who fucking knows? In fact, the only way to predict how your game will sell compared to the pre-launch wish lists is this. Most will sell fewer than you expect, and some of them will sell more. The point is, trying to use wish lists to predict your post-launch sales is a waste of time, and I wish that we would stop it. Cool. So let's talk about PlateUp then. So we're going to go into sort of what that looked like before launch and whether you could predict the success that it was that it would go on to do. Now we at Yogs, before we sign any game, we take we go through a process of evaluating how it could do, which is a difficult question, and everyone will do it differently. But we will, ahead of any signing, we'll use online portals and our own publishing experience to guesstimate sales and net revenue for a curated list of what Steam's algorithm thinks are similar games. We look at sales of over 2 years, and base our assumptions on what being top of the bottom third would be. So we sort of never sign a game expecting it to be the best in the world or what have you. So we take what I think is a quite conservative approach if all things go well. And our prediction for PlateUp was that we thought it would sell 100,000 copies over 2 years. So how did we do? Meet Edward Christopher Sheeran, 32, born in Halifax, and here to represent our anonymized data for PlateUp. So again, looking at pre-launch wish lists, you would have assumed that it would have sold better than the other games. But as we'll see, the extent came completely out of the blue. Indeed, in our first week, our Ed Sheeran PlateUp sold twice as many as Robbie Williams, despite having only 1.5 times as many wish lists. So it's already pulling away. And those sales continue at a velocity which we could never predict. 201,000 units in the first month, 6 times the number of Ed's closest rival, over twice as many sold in 1 month as we forecast we would sell in 2 years. So who fucking knows? So the question is, were there any signs? Look, so I do think getting as many wish lists as you can is important. You definitely unlock more features on Steam if you get above a certain number. But once you get sort of higher than that, it is, I think the impact is less obvious. There are a couple of things that did happen with PlateUp. I'm not sure how many here have launched games. It's a unique mix of terror and excitement. Always a nervous time. You never know until it's out there. But PlateUp always felt like it was going in the right direction. Was it the press reaction? Well, no. We've only got 2 Metacritic rated reviews. Press can be important, but it's not what influenced PlateUp here. One of the greatest challenges in indie publishing is getting the press to cover your game prior to launch, and PlateUp was no exception. Like many, we struggled to make significant inroads before launch, and despite our massive first month, have received general indifference from the media. This snapshot shows we have 2 critic reviews, and this screenshot was taken on June 21st this year, when we just passed 1.1 million sales on PC. So thank you for that. For me, the clearest indication of what we were, that we were building something special here, and I have to say, it always starts with a great game, and Alistair did a phenomenal job with PlateUp, and we only played a very small part in its success. But for me, this is sort of clear indication that something was happening was not with wish lists. It was the community that were growing specifically around the game. That was predominantly through Discord. Now, Alistair had established the official Discord prior to us working together. And that community swelled as we worked towards release, thanks to the open nature of development. There were playtests running on and off for a very long time. And by joining the community, you were able to access the playtest and provide feedback directly to the developer, which really helped shape and balance the game. And the peaks that we see here as we build towards launch were from the final 3 playtests ahead of launch. And that really showed to me that we had a groundswell of people who were desperate to get back into the game whenever the playtests were turned back on. And we even saw people not exit the game for 2 weeks because if you had the playtest running and then it was turned off, you could keep playing it as long as you never closed it. And some people kept it open between 2 weeks. And then, yeah, we could see people firing up that playtest whenever they could. And they were playing for an extraordinarily long time. We had just under 10,000 users play the game ahead of launch. And they played for ages with a median playtime of 2 hours, 37 minutes. Of course, such a lengthy play session isn't necessarily relevant for all types of games. But given PlateUp's roguelike nature, we could afford to be generous. And indeed, the later playtests allow players to carry over the progression from the playtest to the full game. And the fact that we'd seen so many people invest their time ahead of launch meant that they were more likely to come back and buy the game on release. Now, Wishlist couldn't have predicted the success, but there's a pattern visible when you look back through the numbers. And again, if we look at wish lists for the first 4 games with the lowest prior to launch, these are unit sales. So unit sales of those that had wish listed that bought within the first week. So you can see that Gary Barlow sold more units to those that had wish listed than the other 3, which feels counterintuitive. But maybe, spoiler alert, that game, Gary Barlow game, spoiler warning, that's Trolley Problem. And the nature of that game meant it was a short, text-based, linear narrative game. You see them at the top of Steam all the time. You could finish it in 90 minutes. So you could finish it and refund it, which 16% of purchasers did. But the nature of that game being sort of quite short and a game that you needed to experience rather than watch somebody else play, meant we had a really short marketing campaign for that. But actually, those wish lists were more valuable. More people who wish listed the game without us banging on at them to do it went on to do so, went on to buy it. maybe because they wanted to, rather than they were being encouraged to. Looking at the 6 games again, the one thing that the 3 most successful games have out of our recent releases is that percentage of those that wishlist going on to buy the game. So it isn't about the volume of wishlisters, it's about why they're doing it. And I think this obsession with just getting people to do it so we can look at a number going wrong is diluting the impact of those wish lists. It's a 2-part presentation, this, so we're going to now move on. Now, when you launch a game and it's doing well, there are certain things that you can do that are important, I think, to the long-term success of that game. With PlateUp, we knew that we had a game that people liked playing. A lot of them liked playing it for a long time. So it was rated very positively. This is an average PC sales curve. So we've taken a number of games. We've set the start date to be the same, and we've basically sort of smoothed out the trend of what unit sales your game could expect to do over the first year. We've smoothed it out, but basically you can see that you launch and then you have these peaks, which are promotional periods, tend to be the marquee Steam sales, but can be self-service promotions. But generally a game will do well and will sort of gradually sort of head off. Now, what we were keen to do with PlateUp is break that curve. So we've put the smooth line here. Sorry, I'm moving out of the way for the people on the internet. And you can see with PlateUp, actually, we've massively overperformed to what you expect an average game to do. And we're going to talk through what we did, how we did that, how Mark did that so brilliantly. Over to you, Mark.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark, and I'm the Innovations Director, which is the wankiest job title in the world. At Fourth Floor. Fourth Floor is a media services group, but we specialize in influencer marketing. My job is to basically do all the stuff and break all the things that everyone else does all the time and try and find a different way to do it. Looking at data, I love Python. I am massively uncomfortable right now because I'm much happier in front of my PC, just mucking around with some Python. I've even got a friend Ash in the crowd, just so I've got someone to stare at in case I get nervous. So thank you. I've been in and around the games industry for about 18 years. Those that know me, and those that don't. I used to publish a site called CBG when I worked at Future Publishing. I had a bit of time on Official PlayStation magazine. I worked at THQ for a year, not the highlight of my career, because it shut down fairly after I left, but I did leave before it closed. I worked at Network N, who are a market agency. I helped set that up, and I now work at Fourth Floor because I'm interested in new things and new marketing methodologies. Yeah. As we said earlier on, you kind of stole my thunder on 2 things. One, I'm Scottish. I don't believe you swore twice, and I haven't sworn yet.
Sorry.
And 2, this doesn't work without a great game. If anyone from THQ is here, I'm sorry, but when I worked there, we had some real pigs in our hands as a publisher, yeah? And someone gives you a game and you're going to have to market it, and you're like, I don't know what to do with this game, except hide it from the journalists and spend a lot of money on advertising and hope people buy it before they find out how bad it is. That wasn't true of PlateUp. It's an amazing game. The minute I got my thumbs on it, the minute we got to play it, I thought, this is it. This is going to be really easy to market. Not easy, but just easier than some other games. And Alistair did an amazing job. And we talked to him, I don't know, quite a lot. We have a lot of calls with him, talking to publishers, talking to the developer, just switching ideas and information backwards and forwards. Bits of what I'm going to talk about are about user acquisition marketing. I'm just going to talk about the danger of being user acquisition focused, yeah? And a pound in getting you a pound back out. Marketing is like agriculture, and I'm from a big town, but I moved to Wiltshire, so I know everything's about tractors for me in video games. Your research phase is what you can grow with what you've got. So your resources, who's making your game, what kind of game can you make, and what kind of land do you have? What can you actually grow there, right? Marketing is not the advertising. Marketing is the feeling you leave people with whenever they touch your brand at any point. Yeah, what do they think about you when they see your ads, when they see your content, when they're in your Discord server? That's what marketing is, not the ads. That's the bit at the end. Yeah, how they feel when they play your game is marketing. Yeah, a great game is great marketing. That's why selling a good game is really easy. The bit at the end, acquisition marketing and running some ads, is like harvesting. Yeah. And if you keep harvesting and harvesting and harvesting, yeah, I keep this big combine harvesters going over and gathering the seeds, you can end up with a dust bowl. Yeah. And I'm not talking about spend money on brand advertising. I'm talking about engage with your community, listen to them. There are millions of data sources out there, and I'll show you a few at the moment. And if after the presentation, anyone wants to just drop some information over, I'll share you some links to some places that I go to look for this information. Most of the stuff I'm showing you here, which an agency should never say, you can do for yourself, right? Just get in, play with the tools, and play with the data. I have to put this in because I work at an agency, but the approach that we take is different to normal marketing. Having worked at bigger sort of London-based marketing agencies, you tend to give someone some money, tell them what you want, and they give you it. So we talked earlier on about Wishlists being the KPI that you go for. That's great. Here's £1 million. Get me 1 million Wishlists. There you go. You've got your 1 million Wishlists. Doesn't mean you're going to sell a game. You could sell none. You could sell 1 million. It doesn't really matter because you become focused on that target. Ourselves, we tend to look at the games, play them, get involved with them, look at the strategy, come up with some ideas. I did not write the word creative ideation in there. I'm sorry. We deliver the campaign, but we have a different approach. It's always on adaptive marketing. So we'll stop the campaigns, we'll move it in real time, we'll change it. Usually you'll put some money in, run a campaign, go to the end, post-rationalize. Aren't we amazing? Didn't we do a great job? We sold loads of games. How did we do that? And then go in and look at it and then go again. We're trying to do that within the campaign itself. This is the worst kept secret in marketing. Yeah, and we're going to show you specifically how we did this on Twitch and what we did on Twitch for PlateUp. The majority illusion is this. Find the gossips. Find the people that talk to everyone. If you go find the streamers that have the most followers, that's fine. Within their follower base, you'll get loads of people looking at your game. But if you can find the streamers and the influencers and general creators and journalists that everyone else follows, that's the majority illusion. It seems that you're making more noise than you actually are. It's a very simplified explanation of what it is, but find the right people, the ones that are connected to other people, the ones when you sow the seed, it virally goes out. It's a different skill. Don't just go for the big guys. Don't find the ones that have got 1 million subscribers. They're going to cost you more money, and you're probably not going to get those results. Yeah, it's a bigger risk reward. So we did that exactly for PlateUp. The Discord server was that. If you look at, I'll show you again in a minute, but the adoption curve was early adopters. They're all on Discord. They're playing the games and the demos. Next, you're looking at the sort of people who pick up the technology first. That's Twitch. We're dealing with a game which is about cooking. It's really fun. It's a roguelike, so it's a niche of a niche of a niche. Yeah, but we went hard. We made sure that there were loads of channels. So the green line is the average channel streaming. The purple line is the peak number of channels streaming. We just went out, got loads of people to stream the game. I think we probably 5 to 10% sponsored, but once people see that, it got organic pickup. And as you can see, the number of streamers maintained after that. Again, a big part of that is due to Alistair and the fact that the streaming tools and interactions that were within the game were amazing. And it made people want to do that. But you think about those people when you're making your game. These people are going to make your game, make it fun for them, find a way to interact with the audience. So there's the number of people, average concurrents watching PlateUp. As you can see, even though there were loads of people streaming it in the first slide, yeah, not so many viewers in the second slide. It's just a bit up and down. Mostly this goes with feature releases and Steam sales. But it didn't matter. We got them at the start, and that's where we wanted them. We wanted to push these massive numbers and make everyone think this game is just everywhere. Yeah, and for a guy that used to run a games website, journalist-based website, it's shifted. Doesn't matter that you didn't get any reviews. Doesn't matter what your Metacritic score is because people aren't looking for reviews there anymore. They're not looking for peer. They're looking at peer-to-peer content. They're looking at the community. Here's the sales numbers. Again, same orange period. We spiked. We went hard to get those sales really early. It's all the same reason. Spike the sales big. Get loads of people playing the game. That was the initial challenge. That was the majority illusion part. So
I like how you've cropped off the actual units, but you could work it out by that.
I did that
by that scale. Okay.
If you want to take a photo and really annoy Simon,
yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So cool.
I hate it when people catch me being mischievous. Okay. We achieved notoriety, for want of a better word, and now we needed to push on. We pretty much covered as much as we were going to do on Twitch in the UK and US. Yeah, and we'd got pretty good from the stuff we had off Discord. Does anyone know the innovation adoption cycle? So this is the Apple model, right? So you basically have the innovators who pick the product up first. They'll pay anything for it. They will buy an Apple AR headset because they just need to have it before anyone else. Yeah. And you've got the early adopters who basically the ones that get fed to by the innovators. They're allowed to go on Twitch and they just want to play the game early. It's quite easy to get them to do that. Then there's what they call the chasm, which is the how do we get to those other people that are going to buy the game? How do we make it bigger than it is at the moment? Remember, PlateUp is still a PC game for now.
Currently,
yeah. So we were looking at where do we take those people, and we're a content-based agency, and we believe that content is what drives sales. So we went to TikTok. We went there for different reasons. One, the content is there and it's really easy. Two, it's written everywhere that indies were using TikTok to achieve sales, and we just wanted to work out a better way to do that and make it more efficient. Three, their data tools are phenomenal. Yeah, they just give you data points on everything, and you can just suck the data down and rip out comments and just find anything that's going on. You can look at videos and see how long people are, where in the video they're clicking. It allows you to experiment, it allows you to play. And from our point of view, we do that. We think we know what we're going to do, but we test everything. Yeah, we always challenge our own assumptions. If you come into my office and chat to me and say, this is what we're going to do and this is why, I say that's good. How are you going to prove it? Because you need proof, right? You just need to, your gut is good, but you need to make sure that you're not being dragged down the wrong route. So we had to measure success. It's quite hard because success, well, Wishlist was one way to measure success. But we wanted to measure success by how many games we sold. We're great. We work really tight and really closely with the guys at Yogscast Games. So we've got access to Steam, to the back end. We've got access to Google Analytics. But we had to try and work out how to get those sales and link them to the ads themselves. And we tried lots of things. And I tried lots of things. Went into Google Analytics, looked at the snippet at the end of the code that says SNR equals with all the underscores, trying to weed out the bits that were Steam sales and then remove all the wish list capsules and stuff that come up. And that was great. I had it really close until a Steam sale happened. And then my forecast, which was then 5 or 10%, was then accurate within 70%. It just went all over the place. I couldn't get it to work anymore. And Steam have ruined it by turning off the connection to Google Analytics anyway. Thank you for that. We use a TikTok pixel. You could put a TikTok pixel. If anyone else knows how to get a TikTok pixel into Steam, please let me know. But you could create a page to bounce the traffic through and create tags in on the game site guys do something quite similar to that. But if you do that, you're creating friction between the point of click and the point of purchasing the game. And this is a single platform game, so you want to push them straight into Steam right at that point of purchase straight away. So we went back to the old style and built a sales regression. Now this is the old regression. The first regression was done by me on Google Sheets with some very, very clunky scripting coding behind it. And it just basically, we looked at a whole bunch of games that we had data for, and looked at what they'd sold in the past and what we could expect them to sell, applied that to how PlateUp was doing, and basically looked at it and said, this is what we expected to do. So then we could go back to Simon and to Alistair and say, we achieved this. We drove sales up by this much on what we expected, which isn't the best, but it was enough for what we were trying to do. And we tend to follow what's called Kent-Beck's directive, certainly within the innovation unit, which is make it work. It's the first thing. Then make it better. It was probably pretty crappy when you made it work. And then make it fast, which means make it efficient, make it really good. There's no point in putting the effort in to make it fast if it doesn't work in the first place. And we do that with everything. We sort of build it out of sticky back plastic and egg cups and all that Blue Peter loveliness. And then we productionize it eventually. So we have lots of tools that sit in the back end of our company that you guys will never see because we're just mucking around with Python and mucking around with different bits of data script in the back end. So I'm talking quite a lot. So I'm going to give a quick TLDR, and then you can pop off to sleep if you want before I go into all the deep stuff. But basically, campaign results, there was an average uplift of just under 20% on what we expected organic sales to be. If you look at the profit margin from a Steam sale, it's different for different games depending on how hard you discount. But this is an average discount of between 20 and 40%. You're looking at 38%. Yeah. The profit margin on a standard sale is about 58%, and the profit margin on a TikTok sale is 45%, roughly. So the job for us was, if we can get more people to buy from a TikTok ad, you have to spend money to acquire that customer and get them to buy it before the Steam sale. If you get 25% of those people that buy in a Steam sale to buy earlier, then we'd uplift the revenue by about £40,000. roughly. It's a fairly easy thing. You want organic sales first. And then the next thing you want is marketing-driven sales, where you can show that cost of attribution. And then the last thing you want is Steam sales. Now, it depends on your model. PlateUp's model is selling the game, making the revenue at the point of purchase. If you're free to play, it's different. Yeah, you want as many players as possible, or you're willing to give away the container, the box copy itself, to sell people updates. And this is a really clunky graph of what the campaign looked like. So traditional creator marketing, because it's no longer the new kid on the block anymore. And all we were trying to do when you look at the curve and you look at every time we did some boosted content on TikTok, was stop the graph from dropping. Stop that curve that we had. We knew what it was going to do. And every point we thought we were going to get to that bottom bit, we just wanted to nudge it up again. Nudge the sales up. Yeah? Just get them to where they needed to be. And we deliberately did it before a Steam sale for 2 reasons. One, because we were using sales regressions, it was really difficult to pull apart the sales that were driven by ads and the sales that were run by a Steam sale. So we just didn't make them sit over the top of each other to give us the right data. 2, we get more people interested in the game. And what we found towards the end was the expected performance of the Steam sales was higher than it had been before. Are you going to draw something?
I was going to write 10 minutes. I was going to draw attention to it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
In a little more detail, I'll do it really quickly. What do we want to know on TikTok? Should we use ads or boost posts? Who should we target? All the questions you want to ask, yeah? I'm going to take you through one quick journey for one particular ad cycle on this. So should we use ads or boost posts? Well, we needed to know what's the best result we can get for an ad and what's the best result we can get for a post. A post is something created by a creator. What's the best result we get from an ad on TikTok? So what impacts our performance, the messaging, the length, the color, the music, the style of content? I'm going to cross out these ones. The infomercial piece from an ad perspective doesn't work. Infomercial is man stands in front of game. Call to actions made no difference to the performance whatsoever. And text on post, which broke my heart, I wrote 150 different bits of copy for the text on the post, and the difference in performance was 0.01%. And that was time in my life I'll never get back again. So I'm sharing that with you now. It doesn't matter. No one looks at text on TikTok unless it's overlaid on the video itself. So what's our messaging? We use a tool called the Insight Engine, and we're a bit short on time, but basically what we do with the Insight Engine is we pull together data. So comments from ads, Steam reviews, we don't scrape those, and Reddit threads, YouTube comments, Twitch chatter, we take Twitch videos and transcribe them, we take YouTube videos and transcribe them, we munge them all together and we look at the threads and themes. We built this thing called the theme tool, and it basically looks at all those comments and it looks for common themes like price, platform, playability, all those issues. And then it looks at not only comments have been made, but which ones have been liked and shared, because some people will not write something, they'll just like, and that has the same weight as a comment. And then we'll run sentiment over the top of it. The sentiment is ours, it's custom, basically because most modern sentiment engines don't get on with gaming. I liked killing all the civilians, it was fun. Through any other sentiment engine in the world, comes out as negative, but generally within games, it's probably quite positive. So we found that we had to do our own. So I've got a quick quiz for you. Which game is this? This is the Steam reviews, and you'll see the clever amongst you will read the reviews. These are thematically linked comments from Steam reviews for this game in its first year. Yeah, it's not the score, it's the theme of the review itself. So it ignores the number. Hi. Yeah. This was the all-time. So that included the first year. They'd gone from red is bad, I'd assumed everyone got a whole red is bad, orange is kind of neutral, and green is good. And this was the development over time. Anyone know the game? Anyone care to put their hand up? Yeah. Who are also people we work with, yeah? But it was No Man's Sky. Basically, they've done an amazing job, yeah? They're a big independent, well, small independent publisher when you look at the budgets that other people have. Launched the game and just by update, made it better. And they were very data-driven. Sean just looks at what the community are saying all the time, and he just gets on it and responds to it. What's your messaging? So we did the same thing. Didn't teach you anything we didn't know. Fun, chaotic, multiplayer, roguelike, and streamer tools. We test everything. So again, Bill S. Preston and Ted Theodore Logan, the great prophets. The first thing is to understand that you know nothing. So we did that. I'm going to quickly see if these work. So this was an experiment we did in the office. We had an argument. If music's so important on TikTok, and we're trying to get chaos and calamity together, which one gets a better result? that this one would be the one that would get the better result. You can see the video is designed to give you that, right? Basically, got people running about, the text, Thanksgiving, eventually there's more and more text, you don't need it anymore, more filter. Yeah. End result, mine won by 40%. Just so you all know. So what we learn from that is punk is far cooler than circus music, and I'm always right. So you should just pretty much do what I say. Yeah. So you can imagine that we did 500 different experiments, and you guys can imagine that, but I don't have to because I designed all 500 experiments. And you can see ad titles in here like PlateUp purple slime, PlateUp green slime, PlateUp purple slime short, PlateUp purple slime long, PlateUp purple slime alternative music, and just every variant I could think of with different lead lines. We test everything. Yeah. So, platform appropriate content for TikTok. There's a big question when it comes to TikTok. How important is length? So when we work with creators, it's how long is that content? How long should it be? I'm going to take you through this now. So again, these are tools that you have access to within TikTok. If you run ads, you can see all this stuff. It kind of looks like the YouTube tools. You look at engagement graphs and stuff. They will tell you themselves an ad should be 20 to 30 seconds long. So we created one that was 8 seconds long. So the thing you see here, no one from TikTok in the room. Cool, I'm going to tell you a really cool thing. At the very start of this graph on the top, see those first clicks in the first 2 seconds? Those are all junk. Don't buy ads as cost per click on TikTok, and they're going to hate me when they see this later on. They're junk. It's too quick. I haven't seen enough video to make a decision. It's people trying to navigate away from your video. And when you look at your analytics on your own site, you'll see that they don't land on your page. They're just scrambling to get past. What is really important, you need to get out of my way.
I will do.
Yeah, shift. Are these peaks? Can you see them? So you get that, and these peaks are where the video, someone's saying something in the video. This is the retention rate, people dropping off, and this is where they click. Yeah. So you can see here, these peaks are massive. That's where the creator themselves is saying something really interesting, or they're selling a feature of the game that people want to click. It engages people to click. So you can look at those videos yourself, look at the things that they're saying that make people want to click, and then use that and feed them the script back to do it later on. I thought it was a genius. 20 seconds long, keep selling the features, it's great, and then one ad slipped through the middle. And it's this one, which is 51 seconds long. And this tick at the end that you see in them all is when people get to the end of the video and then click on the thing that's at the end of the video. This bugger ran his video for 51 seconds and he's still got more clicks than anyone else put together. And that's because it's the content. Some people on TikTok are just better at engaging their audience. They are more engaged with that audience. Now, we were using money to boost his content to people that weren't his normal fans. But it meant that we could make sure that it goes to people in the US and UK, so we could target the geos that we wanted to target. But his content was just better. So it's an interesting thing to remember when you're working with those creators. Some just perform better than others. So key takeaways, I'm almost finished, and then we can do our thing, right? Posts and videos perform about the same on TikTok, but do different jobs. So an ad is an ad, and a post is a creator creating some content on your behalf. Yep. Videos are great for branding. Spark ads rule for conversion. Yep. They just do. People want to buy from people. This game is great because, but video length is important, and 20 to 25 seconds is about the right length. 25 seconds on TikTok is an eternity. Yeah. If you get people to watch to the end of it, you've done a great job. But the style of content and the depth of the content may change that. Choose the best creators based on results, not on follower count. I'll give a shout out to a creator we work with called Vivid Discord. He's absolutely amazing. I'm going to get told off now. I've got 5.5 minutes. I'll wind this up really quickly. He doesn't get paid a lot of money, but whenever we post this content out to other people, he gets great content and he gets great engagement. So look at each individual creator rather than just looking for the big guys. Also, creative optimization on TikTok is great. Just stick your 5 videos, 5 creative lines, and 5 links in. It'll do the work yourself, but choose the right bidding strategies. If you ask for clicks, it'll give you clicks. If you ask for views, it'll give you views. If you ask for engagements, it'll give you engagements. Yeah, but mercilessly so. So much so, if you create an ad group and put the UK, the US, and Ireland in one ad group, and it's looking for clicks. If it's getting the clicks cheaply in Ireland, it will spend all your money in Ireland and none of it in the UK and the US. So set your ad groups up very carefully and very granularly. Use secondary data to qualify results. Don't trust what they're telling you, because their job is to get you to spend more money on the platform. Use your Google Analytics, use your sales data, use UTM parameters to go back and corroborate how that ad actually drove sales for your game. And it works better if you've got an account, but you don't need one. Yogscast Games didn't have one. They didn't need one. But if you're in there working with your community, it works better. Ash runs the the TikTok account for Power Wash Simulator, which is another campaign we worked on. And it was a lot better. You know, we could really use that content and drive really hard on it. So, end with some memes. I ride mountain bikes. It was one of the learns after a few hospital trips. If you're looking at the tree, thinking, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, you're going to hit the tree. If you're aiming for wish lists, you're going to get wish lists. What is the actual metric that you want? Is it game sales? Is it community engagement? And focus on that. Don't get dragged down to other people's metrics. Slow down, which is weird in the position we're in at the moment. Slow down and go quicker. Yeah, don't go too fast. Don't look at what everyone else is doing. It's a real weird thing. You're really tempted. They're doing this. I must do it too. Do what's right for you. This presentation is specifically for PlateUp, not for anything else. Different games have different communities and different routes to market. Do what feels right for you. And then the Scooby Gang. Yeah. Be open and honest with your client and your agency. Speak to each other. Share your failures. I've gone into meetings saying, we really fucked up. This didn't work. We're not doing that again. We ran some ads on PlateUp in France and they didn't get any performance. Looking back at it, it's because we hadn't done the work on TikTok, on Twitch that we'd done for it in the UK and US to build that brand awareness up before we pushed to a more sort of mass media platform. That's sort of where we're at. Thank you. And I did rush it a bit.
Well done. Well done.
Go.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for coming. I think we've got time for a couple of quick questions. If anybody's got any, don't feel obliged. So if we covered everything.
So I heard about the game because I'm a big fan of the Yogscast. I'm just wondering how much impact they had on the success of the game, really, when they were streaming it. And I think at one point all of them were playing.
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. Yeah, we specifically find games that our creators like, and actually we publish PlateUp. We first came across PlateUp when it applied for Tiny Teams, which is a Steam festival that we do that highlights the work of small studios, and it went into Tiny Teams a couple of years before we launched it. Then there were some of our creators that would not stop playing it, similar to some of those playtesters, just would not stop. And given that they've got access to almost anything on Steam, the idea that they kept going back to this early prototype was really important. So we knew that there was something special there. The story of the game is absolutely fascinating. Alistair started, it's Alistair's first commercial game. He started writing it during lockdown, and he started writing it because, without naming any names, he was finding frustrations with other games within the genre, which they are designed, if we were playing other games in the genre, they tend to separate their players. And so if we were playing together and I was being rubbish, then we would both fail. And he was locked down and playing with a group of friends who had different skills in video gaming. And PlateUp never separates the players. We don't say that explicitly, but it lets everybody can do everything, and that's part of its success. He'll sort of happily acknowledge that, you know, that he has some other, that he doesn't have the skills, everything that goes into a game. And so we helped with some art. We did some music for him. But we also helped with some design elements, particularly on Twitch. Many of our creators were sort of feeding back on what they wanted to see. You know, and you know, whilst I look after the games publishing side, the Yogscast channels are, and the individual creative channels are hugely important. They won't stream a game that their audience, that they think that their audience will drift away from. And that's incredibly damaging to their channels. So they simply wouldn't do it. So we're trying to find games that they like to play. And yeah, PlateUp started with our creators. And obviously it is helpful that there's it's multiplayer. The interesting thing about PlateUp as well is that you know, people think that a game that appeals to content creators should always be like chaotic and everything's on fire and all that sort of stuff. But PlateUp has a different rhythm to it, right? It has the bit where everything's going wrong and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But in between that, it's the planning stage, and that's when they could all talk to each other and sort of have the conversations, which is really important for our guys. And not all content creators are equal. Some have different styles and all the rest of it. So finding that fit is important. And yeah, I have to say, you know, in my time at Yogscast Games, which has been just under a couple of years, this really did feel like a proper collaboration between games publishing. Alistair the dev, who did all the hard work. You know, this is his success, and the content creators just making sure that they had an opportunity to feed as well.
To say quickly, it helped with the early adoption, but the later part of the campaign we didn't really work with Yogscast, except for one video that we where we for the Halloween update where we got the guys from Yogs to dress up as costumes from PlateUp. We didn't do anything at all. Okay. And I'm sorry if anyone came expecting to see Lewis or anyone here and got us instead. Yeah.
I think that's it. Do we have to finish? Does anyone? Okay. If anybody's got any other questions, then just grab us. Or yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay. Thanks very much, guys.
Yes. Cheers for that. Thank you for coming.